floor. Yes, it's a wonderful privilege for me to lead this church. It has been a difficult year. This was a difficult year. It's not just about, it wasn't because of our team, it was just because of the circumstances. So many ideas and thoughts and that we had to conquer in a way. But there were so many people that have said, when they've looked back, we've said, we've received so much positive as well from this year. And that is what is so wonderful for us. So as a church, we've had this big vision. This big vision that we have. If you know our church, there's 6 words that actually describe us. And 6 words that will always be our emphasis. Encounter God, love people, and strengthen churches. And that's our scaffolding, that's our main points. And then we've got the building blocks. So these building blocks can be moved here and there so that within 1 year we can set an emphasis on various parts that are important for that year. And this year we have the following motto: everyone reach one. Oh no, everyone counts. Sorry, everyone counts. Every single one counts. So you can see I've got these little cubes here, and you can see them all over. Why have I brought these cubes, and what do they mean? Well, these are pictures, or these are symbols of pixels. So if you want to see the whole picture, you can't just take one little pixel. You've got to have millions or thousands so that come together. And if there are few that are missing, you don't have a very clear picture. And that's why I want this to go right into your heart, that every single one, every single person counts. And we have some emphases, and that's our motto for the year. And so the first one we've felt, we want to keep contact with everyone. Why are we doing this? Why is it so important? Because if every single one is important, you're not just important because you do something or because you can support financially or you have specific giftings. No, you are important because God loves you. And we want to stay in contact with every member, everyone who is a regular visitor in this church. We want to be in contact. That's why we've had various activities and events, and we want to include the whole community, and that's why we want to also have various groups to do this. And in the last while, we've spoken to a few folk, and we came across an amazing testimony that explains exactly what we feel and what we would love that every visitor would experience this. And of course, it's about us, and you're part of the church, and we would like that every member and every visitor that we would give the visitors this feeling. And so Sam has spoken about this in this video clip. The highlight of my year was I got to know the Jesusgemeinde, Jesus community. I know it was the 3rd of January 2020. I came to the church as a guest. It was an evening meeting, and I had a look, and it really, I really liked it, because I just wanted to strengthen my life in God. And yes, I had had a few years where this wasn't like it should be. family, and from that day I felt I'm in the right place, and here I can strengthen my relationship with God. And in the meantime, I also met a whole lot of lovely people who I felt support, and I felt this family. It was like a family, and that's what was so wonderful, and that's why I just love coming to this church. And when there isn't a meeting, then it's like my life just isn't the same as, that's why I just love to be at the meetings. I came from Iran when I was 12 years old. That's why I left my whole family, except for my parents and my sister. Everybody else is in Iran. And in the beginning, I was so young, and I thought, it'll be fine. But as one gets older, you sort of feel your foundation with certain aspects of family is just not the same. My aunts and uncles weren't there. My grandparents weren't there. I couldn't just visit them for Christmas. So whenever I have seen families and circles or circles of people, where there's that closeness, I feel so much better then. And I don't know who spoke to me that night. Oh, it was Wayne. Wayne came and spoke to me, and he said, "This is cool. Of course you can be part of us." And I thought, wow, I didn't expect that when I asked Wayne, could I be part of this, that he said, of course, let's just have a look. I thought that all the various ministries were filled up and there's no space for me, but it wasn't the case. I started getting involved, first of all, in the light technology, and then I started working with Basti, and I wanted to just help him and see where I could be helpful. And so he told me a bit about the technology, and then he said, "Sam, would you like to help out with the camera, with the camera?" And I said, "Oh yes, this is what I'd love to do." And so I became more and more involved and took on more responsibility, and it's just amazing. I just love it. It's just so cool to be part of the whole technical team. They're so precious, and so many of them think, we think the same, and it's this dream. We just have this amazing technology as well. And every time I come here, it is just so cool to work with these people in the technical ministry. It's just, I've met so many new people. In the beginning, they were all strangers, but to know that they're now my family, it's like they're part of my family. 2020, for January 2020, although I just sat there in the corner the first night, I didn't feel confident just to speak to people. It's a bit strange, but it was really through just getting involved that I suddenly felt I'm part of this. And that aspect of the technical ministry, sound, lighting, everything was great, but it was actually the relationships that made me feel connected. And that's what I will always, always treasure. And I'm so glad I've come here.
Sam,
we are really happy that you're part of our church. We love you. We appreciate everything you do. You're part of our church, our community, and you're a person that we absolutely love having in the camera team. And an important thing for us as a church is not just that we have contact with people in our ministry teams, but also that we have our small groups, our home groups, that they have their place. In Acts, the Acts of the Apostles, we read how they met regularly. They ate together in the homes. And that's like the glue of the early church. And when we say we want to have contact with each person, our small groups are so important. And so we're going to have a look at a little video clip from Thomas.
Ja,
Hallo ihr Lieben.
Hello, dear ones. A few thoughts about small groups in the Jesus community Dresden. For this year, we're wanting to work and invest in a stronger way in these small groups. I saw a film this week, it's called In Churches. And there was a picture of a lot of people all tied together, and there were boats trying to get these people. There were warships and different boats, and it just made me think of the fact that we are people that are wanting to bring people back to their home. And these small boats and big boats are those small groups in our church. And I want to encourage you, get into a boat, help others. It's about helping others. It's about equipping others. Be part of this. And in the future, in this year, we want our small groups to move forward. We want them to strengthen. We want to support them in a better way. We're going to change a few things, so there'll be more flexibility. So I want to encourage you today to say, look for a group. If you're not part of a group, then look for one. Look for one of those boats that you can get into, that you can help others get into. We see God is doing things around the whole world through people like you and like me. People that we can help, people that are able to help others. Maybe it's not preaching or whatever, but what God has put into you, you can use that, and that can only be released when you're in a group. Those gifts are released when you live in a group, when there's that group together that God can bring you into. So be part of this. Take this seriously for the future, because we can see it's not just about a meeting, that we need to be at a meeting or at a prayer meeting. It's about living relationships. And God changes our character. Proverbs says, iron sharpens iron. And so we get stronger, we grow as we spend time with others that can actually help us. And where we can also see that God is doing something with me, God's using me. And you're one of those in those boats that can take those that are bound and bring them back into the kingdom and involved in the kingdom and make this important for the rest of their lives. Our second important point is each one reach one. I think it's so important that we don't just expect that others do this, but that we would be also challenged to reach somebody. And if I think of our region where there's so many people, that when everybody said, if everyone said, I will reach one person with the gospel. So we want to pray for people, we want to encourage people, we want to help people on the way. And some say, please help me. I've got contacts, but I don't know how to do this. I'm not sure. Have you got any ideas how I could do this? I don't know exactly what is the next thing I could do. So we want to help each one to help others get to know Jesus. And there are going to be some great tips how we can do this. And if you say, it's very challenging for me, I want to say to you, we actually have it far easier in comparison to the countries where people are living in persecution. And Dan, who's in our leadership team here, he works for Open Doors, and he has for a couple of weeks ago, he brought a wonderful encouragement for us in this area. So let's have a look at this video. Hello, I greet you all at this Vision Weekend, and I want to just share some thoughts with you that came to me. In these times that we are not living a normal life, as it were, where each one is challenged to also be a testimony. When I look at Iran, we see that there is an amazing turn to Jesus through Christians, and what we can learn, how in these countries where there's persecution, what we can learn that first of all there's an encouragement and a love to Jesus. That people are so convinced, are so on fire because they've got to know Jesus. And the second is that because of the persecution, they can't live a normal life with sharing the gospel and meeting together. Just like at the moment, we can't meet together as big groups. But what we see in the Acts of the Apostles, and also in these countries, we see because of the persecution that is amongst the Christians, that the Christians actually build relationships in a different way. And because of their passion for Jesus, they talk about Jesus through their lives, and that's what we can be. We can be witnesses today more than ever before, because so many of the programs we used to be involved with, we can't anymore. So we need that passion, we need that love inflamed again, ignited again, that we spend time with Him, that we seek His face, and that from that place, we tell about our lives. Not what we hear about Him, but what we are experiencing in our lives. And that's what I want to share with you. Don't say, well, all the programs aren't working anymore, I'm just going to stay on my couch passively, but that we say, no, we have a Christ that is wanting to be discovered, that we can fall in love with more and more, and we've got something to talk about. We can tell others about, we can talk about our lives. For people that say, there's nothing really involved in my life. No, God has done so much in our lives, and He wants us to talk about it. So I want to encourage you and myself, don't just sit, don't just be passive, but discover more about Jesus in your personal life. And then for those that you come into contact with, tell them about Him. Be blessed, and God be with you. That was the second emphasis. Each one reach one. Each one reaches another person. Every person counts. And thirdly, our next emphasis is everyone looks forward to the start of our building. Yeah, it's not just about having passion for our building project. No, it's not just about that. It's that we want each one to be excited about this, because this emphasis that we want to also place on getting our building project going, it's going to help a lot in the future. And we would, even although we can't be part of this whole thing right now in the physical building, but we can get involved where we can look at, where we can say, yeah, maybe you're saying, well, I'm sort of part of it, but not really. I want you to hear, if each one counts, we can do this if everybody does their part. That's what's so wonderful about church, is that every project God gives us or passes on our way, if each one gets involved, if it's from God, we will make it. And we have a wonderful leader in our team who has taken this project, and he's pushing it forward, and I'm so thankful for him. And here's a video from Benjamin. Thank you, Benjamin. Dear Gemeinde, I'm so glad that I can give a few more informations about our building project on the Oscarode Street. And you would have seen that in the church magazine, Blickpunkt. And I'm so glad that this is actually continuing. And this last year, a lot has happened actually. And this year, it will continue. And there's really, we want to start the building this week. This year. We want to see the graders and the machine starting and see what God has. So yesterday at our vision day with our leaders, I'm going to just summarize what we shared about. There's been a lot happening with the plans. What are we? Where are we as a church right now? What are the plans that are needed? And what are our goals? And how can we move ahead with each goal? And what does the church need to come onto this building? The big hall, children's areas, offices. So we've got our plans together, and we're at the point now, so the plans are complete, and we can go to the authorities now and say this is what we want to do. And you can see next to me here how the building will eventually look. Just a basic picture. They're going to be two separate buildings that will then be linked with one in between. On the left is the old building that is already there, that's being renovated. The building in between, there's going to be a lift in there and stairs. And then on the right, with the many windows, that's the new building. And that's where there'll be a very large foyer. There'll be a large hall on one level where our main activities will happen. On this picture that you see now, that's the planning, the ground plans, and you get an idea of how it's going to look. So for this concept that you now see, that we've been adjusted, we've adjusted it to, with a we found a company who have 20 years of planning experience, and we're really so happy to have these as partnering with us. And we've never built a building like this, but they can help us because they've actually built other churches as well, church buildings, and we can learn from them. And they've given us some really good counsel, and they can build a church that will really be suited for what we need. And for example, they were saying we need a lot of space in the foyer because that's where people connect. That's where we can eat together, where we can sit together, where we can connect. And that's why they said to us, we've got to have a large foyer, and that's fantastic. The actual hall will have 750 seats. It'll be fine for now. 750 will be fine for now, but we have the opportunity, then we can build in a gallery where we can fit in about another 250 seats. And it won't be a huge adjustment to the building either. We would be able to do that as soon as we need to, and if the finances were there. As you see, there's also the building that connects the two buildings, and this helps us as well to have more space in the new building, to have a big foyer and a large auditorium. Of course, this costs, and that's a question many ask, what's it going to cost us? So I'm not going to go into the finer details, but the important numbers you need. If you want to know anything else, you can ask us. But the one I want to say, 1.8 million, that's what we've already put into the building. So that's what I want to say. Over the last years, since 2012, you have given us this money. So where we are right now, you have given over 1 million. And the sum that came in every month last year was 17,000 euros. So we've just been so thankful that you have given, because without that, we wouldn't be able to even look at this project. And the third amount I want to look at to finish this complete project would be 6,200,000, 6.2 million. And that's a huge sum. It's a sum where we truly need God's provision. But it's a sum where we've also said, well, how can we see this? We're in that tension between reality, think about it, what are the facts, and how can we finance this? But know that God can break in it every time, at any time, and produce His wonders and miracles. And so, if you ask, well, how can this happen? We're looking at financing with a bank. We've already chatted to a bank, and we know how much they will give us. And it's a bank that really believes that we will be able to do this. So the major part will be financed through a bond from a bank. And then the money that will be coming in throughout this year as well, every month, will be part of our building fund. People that there will also be those that would give us maybe loans. People would be able to provide loans to the church. That's what we are hoping for. And then, of course, we've got to see our own, what can we do practically? Where are the areas in our building that we can take on, where we can get involved. So where we can't finance certain parts of the building, where can we get involved to plug these gaps? And I have faith that we as a church, through our offerings as people in the church and what we can do, will plug these gaps. So I've just given you a basic summary. Of course, we're not going to need everything at one go. In the beginning, we will start with the first phase until we have stairs and a lift. And then I would say towards the end of the year that we would probably be able to begin the new building then. So you can see this building is, as it were, on our front doorstep. And we really believe it's going to function, it's going to work, we'll be able to do it. So what we need is that God just breaks through. We can't do this in our own strength. You can see this, but we just need prayer. We need you to pray. We need you to pray that God will be glorified in this. We need wisdom. We need favor with authorities and banks, and we need financial help. We need your financial help. But I'm so thankful that you are giving, and I believe God is prepared, and I believe that God will bless those that have blessed us, that you can continually bless. So you've heard a little part of this project, and I believe that in the next 1.5 years that we are going to see in this project, that I believe in the next short while we will be able to experience something that we were only dreaming of, that God is providing at the right time. Everyone counts. Everyone is important. We need you for this building project. You're important because you're part of this church. And in the next year, in this year that we are now, we just want to give a wonderful picture as a church on the way. I want to live my life and move something with my life. And in this project, we are bringing something for the next generation. I want my children and grandchildren to see this. You've got things to, we want to fight battles so that the next generation don't have to fight that. And I want to, with my life, I want to move, and I want to move ahead and win battles for the next generation. And so today, I want to talk about a little story. My talk today, just a short encouragement, is if you were removed from this earth, what would remain? I want to ask as well, if we weren't here as a church anymore, if we were removed out of the city, would people notice it? In Ethiopia, for sure. And maybe in certain areas in the city, maybe. But I want to say, as a whole church, if we suddenly disappeared, would it be felt? And I want to challenge you as a person and us as a church. What will remain in memory if you were not there anymore? And I just come to that story from a woman in Jesus' time, and she had a wonderful jar of precious perfumed oil, and she brought that, and she took the oil and she poured it over Jesus' feet. And people in the room said, "How can you do that? How could you do that? What you've done costs a fortune. How can you waste that?" And Jesus said, "Leave her. She has anointed me for what is coming." And then he said the following, and that's what it's about, what I want to share today. And I found this so moving, and I want you to look in your heart and be moved as well, where Jesus said, "She has done what she could and has anointed my body for burial ahead of time. I tell you the truth, wherever the good news is preached throughout the world, this woman's deed will be remembered and discussed." Mark 14, verse 8 and 9. She has done what she was able to, and what has happened. Everyone throughout the world that hears this story, this woman's deed will be remembered and discussed. And of course, because it was so important, it was definitely registered in heaven. And I ask you, what can you do? What can you move or bring into move in your life? What is in your hand that you can bring and it can make a difference for eternity? And today I just thought I want to have a look. Who has done something so amazing, but actually for eternity doesn't mean much? I was just looking at my computer and I found out that there was one person who has run 2,560 marathons. In 2017, he ran 2,560 marathons. Now, I've run some marathons, but really, I can't ever think of this. And his story was every day he was running marathons. This was a doctor from Hamburg. It was in his life up to 2017, sorry. So this person, in his life, he has something for himself that is his memory and his story. But what importance does that have for eternity? Will someone remember something that you have done? We see that in the book of Luke, this woman that did this to Jesus was a broken woman. She was a bad woman. She came and gave everything. She gave everything she could. She was generous. She gave her best. And it wasn't about money here. It was an attitude. It was an attitude in her heart, an attitude for the kingdom. What can I bring? I have a little, I've heard a little saying, and it's, you live just once. You just live once. And that means you and I have one chance to truly do something that will remain in the memory, not just on this earth, but also in heaven. In my life, I want to give everything for that. Maybe you've got challenges and battles at this moment. Maybe you have ideas and a vision, and maybe you think, oh, it'll never happen. I'm just going to discard it. Or maybe you've been waiting for something for a long, long time. Or maybe it's just so much bigger than what you think it could ever be. We've just heard about something that, our building project that's so big. But you see, when we have these big things that we think we can't cope with, it just shows we need Jesus. We need Him. We need our Heavenly Father. We need to go on our knees and say, we need you. But when we have those breakthroughs and when we see movement coming, we will have memories forever. What can you do? What can I do? We can pray. We can take on things. We can give financially. We can spend time, give up time. Whatever it means for you, this woman gave everything. And this was so valued by Jesus. It's about you and Him. And it's about what does He require of you? What works does He require of you? He has called and prepared works for you, and He's also provided equipping for you for this. And we as a church, you as a person, I want in my heart to move things in 2021, and for you that you'll be able to say that. Lord, I thank you for everyone who's part of this church. I thank you for those faithful people who've brought us this far. When we look back in the past, we can see your mighty hand, and we come to you today. And each one of us has something that we can give, and we ask for your help, that we will do all we can, those works that you've prepared for us, that we would walk in those things. We trust you. We come to you. We give everything that we've heard and we hand it to you. We believe that you will surprise us through your power and your might, that you will help us. And we know that you're with us. You are with us. And I pray, Lord, for me, for us as a leadership team, that you would lead us, that you would guide us, that as a team you would lead us in a way that we will have wisdom in leading. Thank you for your grace towards us. Thank you, Lord, for and thank you to our church. Thank you for all you've done. We really appreciate everything you've given in every way, and God bless you.